Hello, my love. Okay, my guest today is the incredible Denise Duffield-Thomas. If you don't know Denise, you're about to find out who she is and the incredible work that she does. Denise is a money mentor, a best-selling author, and she is the queen of helping entrepreneurs release their money blocks, yes, thank you, please, and create wealth without burning themselves out. Ooh, money and ease and flow. Yes, please, sign me up. Denise is the author of 3 game-changing books, Lucky Bitch, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch, and Chill and Prosper. And she's the creator of the wildly successful Money Bootcamp. Her Money Bootcamp is next level, my friends. Highly recommend. I'll put all the links in the show notes. She's worked with thousands of entrepreneurs from all over the world, and her work really blends mindset, practical strategy, and self-care. And she shows you how to make money, keep more of it, and build a business and life that you love. In this podcast, we go deep on the money stories that we inherit, why 2 people can grow up in the same house and have completely different beliefs about money, and how to expand your capacity, not just to earn more, okay, but to hold more. We talk about the identity shifts that come with building wealth, the impact motherhood can have on your money mindset, and how to chill and prosper, doing less but achieving more. It is a thing and it can happen for you, my friend. Denise brings a compassionate, down-to-earth approach to money. It's so refreshing. And today she's sharing powerful, practical ways that you can start shifting your money mindset right now. So if you've ever felt like you're great at creating money, but not so great at keeping it, or maybe you got money issues in your mindset, this episode is for you. I hope you love it. Let's get into it. Hola, hola. It's your girl, Erika from America. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles podcast. This podcast is all about helping you stand in who you are. Stop giving a fuck what people think about you. Start standing as your fully expressed self. As you are, queen, as is, there is no filter needed. You are fucking awesome. And I am here to remind you, I'm a confidence coach, a business mentor, a speaker, an author, and I am obsessed with women standing up, showing up, and creating their confidence. And I cannot wait to dig into today's episode with you. Hello, Denise. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Erika. As I was just saying before we hit record, I was like, if I'm talking to Erika and we're talking about confidence, I'm going to go put on a few extra little lashes for her. Not that you would notice, but I was like, ooh.
I know. I'm sad I don't have my nails on for you today. I should have done it, but I just could not be bothered. I just took them off. But if you can't see Denise, she looks amazing. She's got her beautiful blue and her background is blue. And then I'm in pink. My background is pink. We just kind of look like a gender party. What is it called? Gender reveal party right now.
We do. I love it.
I'm so happy to have you here. So I don't know if you know this, but I was in a program with Taki Moore, which we love. Yes. And I heard all about you and I saw you in there briefly. And then I'm like, who's Denise? And then I went on this rabbit hole and found out all about you and was like, she is the bomb, and everything you speak about, my audience needs to hear, and they need to buy all your books. So we're going to link everything in the show notes. But when did you know that you wanted to become the woman who talked and taught others about money and money mindset?
You know, the seeds of this were for me as a kid, because I've always been that person that is enthusiastic and wants to share. And so I started watching Oprah after school as a kid, and I would go to school the next day and tell all my friends, basically teach them about Oprah. And one of my favorite games to play with my cousins was schools. Like, you know, I'd be like, let me teach you something. And so I've just always been that person. You know, I've read this book, you have to read it. I've found this tool, you have to do it. And I feel like that's what my business is. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not an accountant. I'm just someone who is enthusiastic about the tools that I've found in my life, and I want to share them with others. So my whole business is that, basically. So, but I think as a kid, I didn't think that was a job. I didn't know that you could do that. And so I spent a lot of time, I think, trying to find my thing, not really realizing that my thing is still my enthusiasm and my curiosity and sharing things with people to help them change something in their lives. It could be anything. And actually, one of my first businesses in the online space was helping people find their soulmate. You know, I did soulmate coaching for a little bit, and I was really good at that too.
Yeah.
But I just was like, well, I want to focus on money because I feel like that is such a sticking point for so many entrepreneurs is talking about money, asking for money, and unwinding some of the experiences that we've had as kids and how that impacts us as adults, which, you know, you very quickly alluded to before we hit record. But those early experiences absolutely show up for us again and again in our businesses.
Yeah. It's such a massive thing that we just, so many of us have issues with when it comes to money. And I feel like we go through all these money phases. In my business, like I think I told you before we started recording, like I grew up on food stamps. I didn't have any money. I was a single mother. I grew up in foster care. And so it was just a hot mess when it came to abundance and money. And everything we learned was like, there's not enough. There's never enough. You're not good enough. And then I lived in foster homes with like very rich white people who sent me off to like YMCA camp. And I had these two worlds, which I felt like I didn't belong to either of those worlds. But growing up now and launching my business when I did, I realized my husband, who had a totally different upbringing, he grew up in Australia, beautiful parents. His dad was an accountant. And he has this mindset around like, oh, it's too much, you can't charge. So Denise, I just launched my business and I was like, I'm going to charge this much. And I don't know, I was pulling numbers out of my ass. Okay. And then my husband Hamish was like, well, you can't do that. And I instantly noticed he had stuff around money and we lived in the same house. We loved each other, but I had this like blocker when it came to pricing. I was like, I'm not asking my husband. I don't need him to tell me because he has no idea. And it's so funny because we grew up so different, but he had his own beliefs. And I think he still does have stuff where I'm more open to charging more because I believe in the value and he's a little bit more fearful. Do you see this in the people that you work with? Like they have different beliefs because of where they grew up or what they learned growing up?
Absolutely. So similar to you, my mum was really young when she had me. She was 17. Wow. We were on welfare in Australia. Yeah. And what was really fascinating is as I started talking about money, I kind of had this view in my head of if you didn't grow up with money, you're going to feel this particular way. If you did grow up with money, you will feel a different way. What I noticed though is so completely random because what might happen is, so for example, my mom is a very lucky, happy-go-lucky person. So for her, she was always like, it's fine. Something's going to happen. We'll win the lottery one day. Like something good is always going to happen, right? So I've kind of got that a little bit happy-go-lucky mentality. Yeah. Whereas Mark grew up, yes, single mum, but very different experience where it was more of a like stability kind of thing. But his mum actually is much more fearful about running out of money than my mum was. And so we have this completely different mentality. And so when we started living together, I remember he would look in the cupboard and he would go, there's nothing to eat. And as a kid, like you can understand how much that would send a dagger, like, right? Yeah. Because I would be looking at that and going, there's like 50 different meals in there, like that you could make. Yeah. I was like, but you could put a little bit of French onion soup, mix it with that and a potato and you'd be fine. Right. And so it took me a while to articulate what that, I had to say to him, when you say that, the fight or flight for my inner child, because for my mum to say there's nothing to eat, that must mean there is literally nothing to eat. And so I had to then explore my own childhood and say, we moved a lot, sometimes because of domestic violence or whatever. And so we were very much used to living a just-in-time kind of mentality. If you don't have a lot of stuff because you have to move, right? Which I'm sure you would know very well. And so it's like you don't accumulate things. Whereas Mark's mum, she showed her love by having overflowing cupboards, overflowing freezer, having extras for all of this stuff. And so it was literally a glass half empty, glass half full thing. Where we had such different mentalities around it. And actually my mum's visiting at the moment and we just had a food delivery, grocery delivery. And my kids were like, can I have a yogurt? Can I have a thing? Can I have a thing? And it brought back all these memories of anytime there would be a lucky windfall, my mum would go and buy all this stuff. She'd never save any of the money. And we would be like gorging ourselves on all of this fun food, right? And so just to circle back to what you were saying is sometimes though, you might grow up in the exact same circumstance. So you might have very frugal parents, for example. Some of the kids will be frugal by default because that's just all they know. Some of them will take on the fear behind the frugality that might not even be theirs. It might be several generations back. And some people will overcompensate and go completely the other way. And this is why I'm so excited to talk to you, because having a similar background to me where there is that scarcity and lack, and then you have abundance, I know for myself, I got into a little bit of trouble with that because I didn't know how to handle that. I was used to feast or famine, right? So it's like, got to use it, got to spend it, got to have more, because I'm like, I don't know when that next one's going to come. So you could have the exact same childhood as someone else in your family and decide different things about that thing.
It's so wild. It's so wild. And it just reminds me of this concept, like, we can create, but like the capacity to hold. And I know many of you listening to this podcast, you know, what I hate, Denise, is when women are like, I don't know where my money went. I'm just not good with money. And I'm like, can you stop doing that, please? Like, I'm pretty sure the first year I started podcasting in 2018, I did a podcast called Stop Being the Cute Dumb Girl. And I was talking about myself, like, I just, and I'm like, stop it. Like, it's not funny. Like, we need to know. You know, I was so scared. I sucked at math. I did really bad in school. And so, right? Okay, we're the same people, girl. So math and like money, I was just like, no. So I instantly, if you're listening to this and you struggled with math, or maybe you grew up poor, or you grew up not having enough money, it's almost like this path gets carved for you. Like, you're going to be a woman who, yes, maybe you can create, but you definitely won't have a capacity to hold. And I know that you teach so much around holding, creating wealth. What do we do if somebody listening is like, oh my God, you guys, that's me. I can hustle my ass off and I can make all this money. But then it's like goes to Cuba, or it's gone and I spend all my dollars. Like, talk about that capacity to hold, because I think it's such an identity shift and such a mindset shift.
It really is an identity shift, but also I think it's the awareness of what are you trying to heal? Okay. So I don't know if this happened where you grew up, but in Australia, there'd be the council pickup day. Do you know about this?
No.
So nowadays it's not so much a thing, but it was like, there was one day where the council would be like, throw all your trash out in the street and we'll come and pick it up and take it to the tip. So as a kid, that was so exciting, because I would just go around and be like, what can I do with this? What can I do with this? What can I do with this? Right? Now I have to be aware of that as an adult, to be like, what can yesterday I ran out of finished some laundry detergent, and it was like a really good container. And I was looking at it for like a couple of minutes going, what can I do with this container?
Yeah.
And I noticed that my husband isn't like that, because he didn't feel that same kind of lack around things. And so the awareness is so important, to say, why am I doing this? So if you are overspending, why am I doing this? What need is it fulfilling? What fear is it trying to fulfill? I see both sides, because I also have a lot of people in my audience who are actually very frugal from a fear and scarcity point of view too. Yeah. And that comes from the other side of, I'm going to run out of money. But sometimes overspending comes from that same place of going, well, I might not have it tomorrow, so enjoy it today.
Yeah.
And what I think I try and teach people is, yes, it's super fun to make a lot of money, but how can we aim for neutrality a little bit with money, with a little bit more stability with money, and having awareness of your sabotages that will come up. So like you, I'm terrible with math. I've only put a name to it in the last couple of years, dyscalculia. Yeah. It's actually a thing.
Wow.
And I really struggle with things like bus timetables, train timetables, just a lot of information.
Yeah.
And so knowing that about myself, I can't do my own bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I just can't. So I have to have somebody else to do that, because otherwise it will end in chaos. And I will probably, get in trouble. So just having that awareness and compassion for ourselves all the time. What are my sabotages? Where did it come from? How can I choose a healthier thing? Or how can I put a mechanism in place where it's not going to derail me? Yeah. Where can I automate? Where can I find a way just to not make that a massively sabotaging thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that because your work talks so much about healing, rooted in the healing, not just manifesting. And you maybe don't know this about me, but I just wrote a book about becoming magnetic. And in it, I'm it's an anti-affirmation book because I really struggle with these affirmations of when we don't believe it, and I hate the fluff and I hate the, let's just say words that sound nice when at the end of the day, you look in the mirror, if you don't love yourself, if you don't love your body, if you don't believe it. And even Abraham Hicks says you're just talking yourself into the lack that you don't. And so I love that you talk about healing, not just manifesting. What do you see are some of the most common blocks that come up for women when it comes to money stories, and how can somebody listening start to become aware and then maybe move to the releasing?
Yes, absolutely. So, oh God, there hasn't been a story that I haven't heard, and I think people come to me and they go, but here's my story and here's why I'm the exception to the rule. And why I'm really allowed to have money blocks. And I go, I totally get it. And I love collecting those stories, but they always fall into some categories, of course. So number one is I have to work really hard to make money. So I'll dig into each of these because they come from different places. I have to work really hard to make money. Number two, I can help people or make money, but not both. And sometimes that comes, I can do something good or I can love what I do or make money, but not both. It's just a binary choice. And the third one is more money, more problems. This fear that more money is going to have a detrimental effect in my life. And everyone will have a different view of what that is. So let's dig into those. Yeah. So I have to work really hard to make money. This is so universal depending on it doesn't matter where you grew up, how you grew up, right? So you might have a mentality of, I have to work 5 jobs to survive. Someone else who grew up in a household like your husband might be, I have to have a proper job, like an accountant, like a lawyer to make money, or it doesn't count. So what you'll see is then people who go, but I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be an artist, grew up in that family, and they go, well, that's fine, you can do that, but you can't make money from it.
Yes.
I also think most of us who grew up pre-internet have a very orderly, formulaic idea of how you make money. You do a thing, you make money. You work an hour, you make money. And then suddenly when the internet, and especially when internet marketing came along, that formula is broken. It breaks our brains a little bit. It's almost like, oh, I thought the laws of gravity were this, and now you're telling me that you can make money when you're not there. You can make money from something you've already done. I know for me, that broke my brain a little bit when people were buying my book for $10. And I was like, but what have I done to earn that $10? Do I have to call them and read it to them over the phone for this transaction to be fair? It just didn't make sense to me. Does that resonate? It's especially if you grew up pre-internet, it's just but where's the value? Where's the value? I don't get it. And also I find this particularly true for those who've got a very analytical mindset. The idea of passive income, the idea of making money from just talking to people or doing something, it breaks their brain because it does. It's but I have to work hard to make money. I have to do something to make money. Sometimes some people have this idea, I have to suffer to make money, or I have to sit at a desk. Once you start to dig into it, what are my rules for how I'm allowed to make money? You'll be surprised. Some of it's yours, some of it's your parents, some of it's your grandparents, some of it's the society and culture that you grew up in, some of it's that feeling of, oh, I haven't suffered enough or I'm not old enough. All your excuses will come into that. That's really big. The second one, though, of I can help people or make money, but never both, I see this a lot in like helping professions, health related professions, even, anyone that's helping someone overcome something, because they've went into it because they're really passionate about solving that problem. And so then when money comes into it, it feels like it dirties or taints their desire to help people or their true intentions. And I'm sure you've had this. I know I have had emails like that of going, if you really cared, it would be free.
Yeah. During COVID, that was a big thing. Like, I can't make money when COVID and people are struggling. And it was like, or you're from where I'm from, so you should get me. And then your little heart gets involved. And then, it's very messy, that one. Yes, yes.
It's very messy. And again, I see people create little exceptions for themselves. So I'll tell you what happened to me. Even though I am Australian, I lived a long time in the UK. And when I started my business, I was mostly marketing to Americans. And because I was going to conferences, and that's kind of where the personal development market really is. Yeah. So I started sort of saying to myself, well, I can't charge, like you can't charge your friends and family, right? So I was like, so I can't charge people from like my hometown, or I can't charge, and then it was like my state, and then it was my country. And then I was like, well, I can't charge British people because I lived there and my husband's British and my kids are half British. And then I was like, well, I can't charge Kiwis because they're basically Australians. And then, so I realized that my list of exceptions of people that I was allowed to charge was getting smaller and smaller.
Wow.
And this is what happens with people. They go, well, I can't charge for people who are really in pain, or I can't charge people who are struggling with this particular thing, or I can't charge single mums because my mum was a single mum.
Yep.
And so what we have to do there is realize that when we charge win-win prices for what we do, and that doesn't always mean the highest, it just means whatever feels abundant to you and to your target market, it gives you back time and energy then to write a book, which is a huge thing, to create programs and resources for people for free or for low cost, to create group programs that you can impact more people with.
Yeah.
If you insist on undercharging and stressing yourself out, you actually can help such a tiny amount of people. Your impact is so limited to the hours in the day and your energy. And so when you realize the more people I help, the more money I make, the more people I can help, still within my values, then my impact can only be amplified. And an affirmation I always teach people is, I serve, I deserve. I serve, I deserve. You can't just help everybody for free, because that's not it's not the way the world works. But if you build wealth, create win-win prices, as I said, take care of yourself financially, your oxygen mask on first, you actually can help a lot more people. So that's the second one. And then the third one is more money, more problems. So for some people, it's just, you can't even articulate it, but it's like, if I make more money, something bad will happen. So for some people, it's people won't like me, I won't be down to earth, I'll be too big for my boots. There's usually a wound, a childhood wound from it, or I'll get into trouble, or I'll be found out as a fraud, or I'm sure you see this with confidence stuff. People have a lot of visibility fears of I'll get trolled, I'll get haters.
I'll get cancelled.
I'll get cancelled, absolutely. Yeah. Or especially if you grew up in a feast or famine kind of environment, you might think, but if something good happens, something bad has to balance that out.
Yeah.
Because that's how you grew up, right? Yeah. So I find most people's money stuff fits into one of those categories very neatly. Yeah. And then we've all got our own little extra bits.
Side things. Oh my gosh. I love that, because you're so right. When I think about my beliefs and the things that happened for me, there was something that I was in a business group that I feel like ended up then becoming a cult. But anyway, and I didn't have a business, Denise. So I'm in there paying all this money with no business, just there for the cult community. I'm sure the foster kid in me was just like people and humans. And I really wanted to build something. And I remember it wasn't a lesson for me, but I swear to God, this is when my money thing shifted. And, we all have these moments, and I want to know yours, but This lady wanted to go to the event. It was like a 4-day event, and she lived somewhere in Australia. She had to fly and then pay for hotels and all this. And she said, I don't have the money to go. And the girl said to her, you don't say I don't have the money. You say, I'm going to create the money. So like, I can create the money to go. I don't have the money right now, but I'm going to create the money. And then it was like, I don't have create. And I don't know what happened in Erika's little brain, but it was like, Kshing! And I was just like, oh, you create the money. Like that's, and I swear to you, Denise, like after that moment, it must have done it. My husband heard it as well, but I was ready to hear it, and I needed to hear it, and I needed to reframe whatever was going on for me. And then it really empowered me to go, I am the person that creates. So I can create the value that then sells the thing. If I lose everything tomorrow, I created my Instagram, I created my podcast. So like I created my babies, I created everything. So like you are the creator. And it really gave me this, I don't know, it just empowered me to be like, if I'm not the one, and I talk about this in my work, like the person stopping you is you. It's not patriarchy. It's not, man dominated. It's not stop. Like look in the mirror. That's your enemy. Okay. Overcome her. Nobody will stop you. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And it just gave me this empowerment, this permission. And since then, I feel like that was what I needed to shift my money mindset. And then obviously there was more healing. But was there something for you that you hit a moment where you were like, that's the thing that shifted, or that's a mentor or the book or the line, or was there something for you that did that to you early back in the days?
I mean, there's been so many things like that. And I'm kind of like you. I know that, God, I'll go clean houses if there's something that I want. Right? I'm like, I've done it before. I can do it again. And just like you, I know that I'm like, I can just make it again. Yeah. Right? So there's that. I think a really early lesson that resonated so much with me and saved me so much time was that I met this woman who was a millionaire. I mean, that in itself, when she said on stage, she said, I was a millionaire at age 35. I was 29 and I went, I'm going to do that. Because she said it. And because I was in the same room as her and I knew she was real and like I could touch her if she was there, right? Yeah. And I think those examples are so important because if you don't see it, you can't believe that it's true for you. And
girl. Yes.
And but I think then people go, well, it's okay for her because of whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have to really deliberately seek out someone like us. Or you decide, well, if she can do it like that, maybe I can be the one who does it like me. I can be her, but Asian. I can be her, but short. I can be her, but with ADHD. Yeah. And that has always been a real game changer for me, seeing the person. And you know what's so interesting? I saw her a couple of years later when I was pregnant with maybe my second baby. And I realized I had this feeling of going, I can't do this with kids. And I went to her event. This is Ali Brown. And I don't remember anything about the event except she said one thing. She said, oh, since I had my twins, I decided to scale back my business a little bit and hire someone to do this. And it was almost like, I'm allowed to do that? And again, just because she said it, I went, I could do that too. And I'm so deliberate about what I let into my world. But early on, joining masterminds, working with mentors, being in rooms with other people, going to conferences, because I needed to see the proof. And as soon as I did, it always unlocked something for me. I go, well, someone's done it. It's possible.
I love that. And that's really it. If you haven't had it modeled, and I think we look for evidence on how we can't, and oh goodness, is there a lot of that evidence? Use 100%. But when you go and you find someone who has a similar story, that's such good advice, especially like, I don't know. I've recently been hearing a lot of people. I don't do business coaching, but there are people that do business coaching and they'll talk about, I made this much money. Here's my Stripe. Here's my this. Here's my that. And a lot of people, I notice a lot in Australia, like Australian women are like, I don't like that. That's wrong. But like my ladies in America, like my Black women, my Spanish women, we're like, girl, I made this much money, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because you need to know it's possible, because you need to know that you could grow up in the hood, not go to college. Crazy that we have so many similar stories, right? Have a single mother, be in a domestically violent home. You are a trauma child. You should not be a millionaire. You should not be. And then to see a woman on stage being like, I just made $15,000 in 4 minutes. If I could do it, you could do it. So I don't believe that. And I don't like when people say that. I feel like it's a bit of privilege. Like, you shouldn't do that. What's your take on that? And if you agree or disagree, I think it'd be a great thing to chat on and speak about.
Well, I don't think there's any right or wrong around it because different things resonate for different people. And I think it's important to know who we are and who our audience is. What's really fascinating actually from a money archetypes point of view is that I attract a lot of accumulators and a lot of nurturers. And so accumulators are the ones who are a little bit more fearful about money, and the nurturers often have a lot of self-esteem issues. Whereas at the start of my business, I just assumed I was going to be attracting rulers like myself.
Yeah.
Right. And so I did talk a little bit more about those kind of things because that's what I was interested in talking about. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I could really shift my business to attract more of those people, but I was naturally attracting people who actually needed a little bit of like encouragement and, you know, they want a bit of that easy breezy kind of feeling because they can't create it for themselves, right? So when I hear people say, oh, no one should have prices on their website, or if you don't have price on your website, you're a terrible person. I just go, different things work for different people. And that's fine. You know, even things like countdown timers on websites, right? I remember someone went on a massive rant about this, about how, you know, you should never have that scarcity because it really impacts people and makes them feel scared. And I actually came around to this recently and went, I have dyscalculia. If someone says the deadline is 9 p.m. mountain fucking time, what is mountain time? I cannot calculate that. I don't know where that is. And so countdown timers are extremely helpful for me with ADHD because I always want to know how much time, how many minutes until we have to leave. You know, I want to know that information, right? And so it's the same with transparency around income. When I first saw one of my friends, Leonie Dawson, I was in a Facebook group with her. She had a launch that made $30,000. For me now, that is such a small kind of launch. At the time, my brain exploded. I remember saying to my husband, I was like, come over here, come have a look. And I was like, she's just a normal person. She's a hippie. Like she just made $30,000 in a launch. And he was just like, oh my God. And I'm like, I know her. Like I can message her and ask her. She's sharing how she did it. That was such a gift to me. And I know that when I've shared different things like that, I know it's been a gift to other people too. Some people don't like it, and that's fine as well. But as you said, to see if you're a Hispanic woman, you've never seen someone do that, and to go, oh my God, someone like me can do that. Someone who is queer can do that. Someone who is overweight can do that. This is the gift that we give each other because my grandma, she was so smart. She could do so many things, but she lived in a time where she couldn't monetize any of that stuff, right? And I always think of my grandma. Imagine saying to your grandma or your great-grandmother, well, I've got all these opportunities, but what if someone's mean to me on the internet?
I know.
Can you imagine saying that to your ancestors to go, I could make this money, but grandma, I'm scared.
I'm going to get a negative comment. It's like,
I know. Someone's going to give me a 1-star review. And yes, that stuff stings. But I just think of my grandma. She would have loved to be able to get out of her marriage. But she couldn't afford to. You know, and I think of all those other women too. And I just go, well, like, God, if you have to be the first, go for it. But I think we just live in an amazing time where we can share that information with each other across the whole planet. And you never know who is going to be excited. And that doesn't mean everyone has to open up their finances. Some years I release my tax returns because I just think it's really fun to do that. And that blows people's minds too, because most years I pay about $850,000 in tax each year. And I'm like, but I want someone to see that and for me to say to them, you know what, I was terrified my first year of paying any tax because I was worried about getting in trouble with the tax man. Because I have a memory of being in the welfare office with my mom and seeing this man in a suit and being worried that we were going to get our welfare taken away. I had to work through that to be able to pay $1 in tax as an entrepreneur. and then you get okay with that. You can pay more and more, but there are so many layers to all of this stuff. You don't have to be transparent, but I think it is fun to be in groups where it's safe to be transparent and not to be afraid of it. And one of my early money mentors, Kendall Summerhawk, who I adore, she said, talking about money should be as simple as saying, can you pass the salt? No charge to it. This is how much money I make. And you can't have those conversations with everyone. It's not always appropriate. But I'd love for us just to be like, yeah, I made this money. Yeah, I paid this in tax. And we just go, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's like so much healing to be done to get to that place. But how beautiful would that be if it was this neutral, non-charged thing? Because it cracks me up that we have so much meaning on money and the whole like you're evil or you're greedy or you're this or you're that. And then some of us utilize it to give us more confidence and make us appear to be XYZ. And I think you sharing that tax, that's a lot of tax, girl. But that's amazing that you share that because
it is.
For me, I'm like, that's authenticity. And I think it's such there's no strategy when you're keeping it real and being honest because so many people are not. And I think it's really beautiful and refreshing that you share that because there are so many people who want to know what is possible and they will look to you or look to me or look to someone else and say, oh my gosh, like Oprah, like, hello, like we should technically, like I always say on stage, I'm like, I should be dead, in prison, homeless, in jail, or pregnant to multiple different baby daddies. Like that's how I thought my life was going to work out. And the fact that I'm here, like living this life, like wild. And you look at Oprah and you look at Tony Robbins and you look at all these people who could have had a different life and they decided to go, actually, I'm going to do this with that. Like that's huge.
It's wild. And it is big work.
Oh,
it is big work. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. But I want people to realize, though, you can earn money while you're learning those lessons. Because I think some people think I have to do all my healing first, then I can deserve the money. It's always going to be an elusive thing. So you can make money now as you are. You will learn those lessons as you learn them. And I'm still learning them all the time, especially since I financially support my mom and she lives with us half the time. I have to deal with all of those feelings all the time about all the, you understand, right?
Yep.
I had my first baby at 33. I still felt like I was like an unwed, like teen parent.
Yeah.
And I was like I'm pregnant. I was like, I'm 33. Like I'm a grown adult. It's fine. But it's all that stuff still lives within us all the time. And you cannot wait till that stuff goes away because that girl is still part of me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So speaking of motherhood, like money and motherhood.
Oh God.
I know. So we both have families. Do you have three kids?
I have 3 kids. Yeah.
3 kids. Okay. I have 2. And I think for a lot of women, when they become a mom, that really can activate like all kinds of fear and scarcity. So how did motherhood shift your money mindset and how do you see it benefiting those that are moms that really need that support and shift?
I feel like the biggest thing for me actually, which was a positive thing, was it restricted my time. So I had deadlines and I couldn't work as much as I used to. So I had to learn boundaries. I had to get help. Blah. I had to hire people. I had to do all of those things because I had to do it.
Yeah.
And that stuff was way harder for me than the actual parenting stuff. Like hiring a nanny, I remember at the start, because I always worked from home, and the mindset stuff that came up for me around that, I was thinking my friends from home are going to think I'm such an asshole for having a nanny. And I remember a friend just saying, people have childcare. Like it's not that crazy, and all of those things were the hardest, I think, is just going, and actually I find parenting harder now than I did when they were little. And I feel like I was so in the empire building phase of my life. They just got swept up in it, and I was writing my books, breastfeeding with that big my breast friend pillow that I just wore like a tutu for years. And they were very used to it because especially when we had, our beautiful nannies that we've had over the years, it would be like, oh, okay, guys, I'm going for a call, breastfeed. Okay, I'm going for a call. And so they're used to that.
Yeah.
And even this morning, because I do all my podcasts now on a Thursday morning from 7 till 12. And they were just like, have fun on your call, Mom. Good luck on your call. Because they've been hearing that since birth. I would say, though, the thing that's been the hardest for me is I'm such an independent person and I love my personal freedoms. And so sometimes I'm just like, why do I have to deal with this? Especially when they're having tantrums and stuff. I'm like, there's no logical reason for this. Like, why? Yeah. I just say that a lot as a parent. I just go, why? Why? And honestly, I think like very vulnerably here, because my upbringing was very chaotic and so was like my cousins and stuff. And so like my brothers, my cousins had real behavioral like ADHD and things like that. And one of the hardest lessons for me is my son does too. And I was kind of like, but I've created this nice life for you. I've broken the cycle. Yeah. Why? And then having to realize it's genetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been such a challenge for me because I'm kind of like, I'm a nice person. I've done the work. Why do I deserve this? And it's just like, it's hard because I'm like, I just want to go do my thing. Why do I have to deal with this issue? It's not fair. But then it's the fun stuff too. Like my girls are just, they're so delightful. It's my son that's the challenge, to be honest. But
I hear you.
Yeah, it's hard.
I have a 7-year-old my 9-year-old son is like, I think like when you have two, apparently the second is crazy. I don't know. That's what a lot of parents who have two tell me. I can't imagine the third, right? It's like even more, right? But my son is hard. He does not have a growth mindset. I think he's having like stomach problems. And it was so funny because we were like, oh, you're eating a lot of junk food, whatever. And then I was like, actually, is that anxiety? Like he's 7 and he's incarnating like 7 years old at that time. Like he's starting to be a human and see the world as flawed and, who am I and what am I about? And it's interesting. And my husband does shamanic healing. And I'm like, you're going to have to get him on the bed and work through his stomach anxiety. And he does not, like Denise, my son does not have a growth mindset. Like the other day I said to him, can you say like, I love myself, I'm awesome. And he was like, Mommy, I can't say that. And I was like, whoa, like the queen of confidence son can't say this. Like it was such a moment of like, holy shit. Like it doesn't matter who you think you are and all the work you've done. These little souls are here he's got his journey. And it's so hard to watch sometimes, but also a beautiful lesson of like, you can't control everything. You can hold space. You can create a beautiful container and then let his universal path, make it. And hopefully the resources that we have now, we can support them. But yeah, I'm sending you love with that because I'm having some trouble with my little guy as well.
Yeah. Though. And I want people hearing this too. Like we look all nice and cute and we're still screaming and like, I just think if there was a camera sometimes on the parenting stuff, like, that is hard to be like, oh yeah, Denise, she's so chill. And it's like, no, it's not. It's really hard. And I've had a few of those moments too, thinking, is he going to be okay in the future? And like, is it going to be one of those things of like, oh, she wrote all these books and then look at her kid. He's a nightmare.
It's real.
And it's real. It's really fucking hard. And I'm grateful that, Mark and I have the resources to try a lot of things and, do all the stuff, but it still feels very unfair. I'm like,
no, I hear you.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, because then you're not equipped either. And I was going to say before, like how amazing that you as a mother have obviously the work that you're doing and continue to do. Like we're never done doing the work, right? The work is doing me sometimes, but I'm always going to do the work. But it's so interesting because when you're raised in such a hectic way, like both of us sounds like we had a really crazy upbringing, then you just don't have the bandwidth or the nervous system or the dynamic to support your kids because nobody was there. Like my husband would always say to me, like, babe, he's only 7. And I'm like, what do you mean? He knows better. And he's like, babe, he doesn't know better. And I'm like, at 7, I was paying money orders. I was like advocating for my mom at mental hospitals. And he's like, yeah, but so I was like, whoa, I didn't get to be a child. And my child is a child. And it's so crazy to see that because, you don't want to repeat these patterns. And one of the issues that we had, I guess it's a money issue, but I didn't want my kids being Australian to grow up. He's Sri Lankan, but he's very Aussie, to grow up as like privileged Aussie, like privileged kids. Okay. I just didn't want like the rich, like snooty patootie. I know nothing about struggle. And I'm also the mother who takes them to Crown Casino on the school holidays. I know it's a problem. But then I'm like, oh shit, what am I doing? And my husband laughs because he's like, babe, you're the one that takes them to Crown Casino. But it's like, I want them to experience beautiful things, but I also don't want them to get sexually abused, kidnapped, foster care, physically beaten, be scared. Have you found like building their resilience and their money mindset resilience and understanding that while balancing not giving them too much because you can now?
Oh, this is that's a whole
day.
Gosh, you need to have me back to talk about this because it's something that I have thought about a lot because I remember years and years ago we were traveling and we went to America. So we always go business class, but then some of the internal flights, their business class is just a normal flight, right? And so my daughter Willow, she was like 4. She was like, where's the TV? And then she said to the flight attendant, she goes, I'm ready for my bed to be put down now. And I was like, oh no. So it is hard because I want to experience that life. So I don't want to fly economy just to give them some humility.
Yeah.
Like I do not. I've earned this. So again, what I'm trying for is neutrality as much as possible. So I often say to them, we're not any better than anyone else because we have money. We're not any worse because I also don't want to give them that, like, go the other way and to go, well, you don't deserve anything because you're privileged and you're rich. So you don't deserve nice things and you should always pay for people and I don't want that either.
Totally.
So our kids go to public school. That's important to us. No offense to anyone who sends those kids to private school, but we didn't grow up like that. And I feel like we would feel weird in those situations too.
Same. Yep.
We live in the burbs now. So we built this beautiful beach house and our kids went to the local public school. So then now we're the rich kids at the school.
Yeah.
And so now we've moved to the burbs. We're still a public school, but it's just a little bit more down to earth. And I realized I love that book, The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do more things like that. And they do have chores and stuff. You know what, Erika? We will absolutely give our kids money blocks. Like we will. We'll give them different money blocks to us that we had. And we can't avoid, we can't 100% avoid that. What I'm trying to do is teach them to be a good person. But also, here's the tricky thing too. I see my daughter, she loves art. And I can't help it. I love buying her art stuff.
Yeah.
If they grow out of their ballet shoes, I love being able to buy them new ballet shoes. And so I see the bandwidth she has because of that.
Yeah.
She goes into her room and makes art. I was that kid too, but I had so many worries on my shoulders as a kid. And so I think you and I probably have this sense that suffering has made us resilient and suffering has made us successful. But I think we would have had that no matter what. Yeah. And imagine also what we could have done with that foundation of stability.
Totally.
And so I had to shift that in myself of going, I'm only resilient because I suffered. And to go, no, how cool. Like, I don't want to give them everything.
Yeah.
For sure. And even I think that's changed my ambition a little bit recently too, because I kind of go, I've kind of hit a lot of my goals. Like, what am I doing it for? And people say, oh, I'm doing it for my kids. I go, that'll be fine.
Exactly. I hate that line. I'm like, I don't do anything
for
my kids.
That'll be fine.
I know.
That'll be absolutely fine.
True. And I think they get to see and witness you. And this is a lot of the work I talk about is the women are like, I want my kid to be confident. I'm like, are you confident? And they're like, oh, no. But anyway, how do I get my kids to be? And I'm like, oh, sister, don't worry about your kids. They're going to be a mini you. Like, they're going to witness you, watch you. They're going to model what you're doing, they're not going to listen to what you say. They're going to model who you're being. And so it's awesome that your kids go, bye, mommy. Like, my sons think that mommy helps the people. That's what they think I do. So I'm like, fantastic.
Oh,
like, mommy's going to go help the people because they're little, like 7 and 9. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to go help the people. And they're with confidence and pink. And I'm like, cool. And so it's like, if they learn to help the people, then that's fantastic. I want to finalize this with you and say, you talk so much, which I love. And we need this. And I need this so much because I can burn crispy, crunchy, meh, and just keep working and working and going because I have a lot of energy and I'm sure the ADHD helps. And I'm ambitious as hell and I want to do all the things, but I can become very crispy brained and burnt out. And so you talk about like prosper, chill and prosper and relax and not to be too crazy, but also like doing less, achieving more. But how can someone who feels like they have to be doing all the time in order to create, learn this from you, this chill and prosper energy?
Well, what I'm doing at this phase of my business is different from earlier phases. Yeah. But what I'm doing now is I have to replace that with something else. So I do cross stitch, I do ballet, because I still have that feeling on the weekends. Sometimes I think I should be doing something. I should be doing something. That is my personality. Is 100% my personality. And when you have that type A ruler kind of personality, you're never satisfied. You have to really watch that. Yeah. And so for me, going to ballet, and of course then I go to 8 hours of ballet a week. I always find a way to extreme something. But if I wasn't doing that, I would be replacing it with work. That's just how our brains work. And we have to accept that we'll always be thinking of things. Sometimes though, when an idea comes up, I learned this like as a kid, I think when I would think of bad things, I would sort of say to myself, wow, that would be such an interesting book or a movie, and I can just let it go. I'm like, that's not my idea. You could just go, that's an interesting idea for someone else. Yeah. Push it back to the universe. So then you're not opening new tabs all the time in your brain of all the things, feeling like I have to do that, I have to do that, I have to do that. But I make really bad art sometimes. I paint random shit. Nice. Like, there you go. That's one of my paintings there, where I just go, I'm just going to do it and be so detached from it. Yeah. Then it's not just about work being the only thing that gives us joy. But you know what? I think, Erika, my big thing I've realized recently is I think when you grow up really wanting to prove yourself, you run. And then after a while you forget why you're running and you feel like you still have to. And I've had to sort of go, oh my God, it's okay for me to have like a boring middle class life because that's what I dreamed about my whole life. And so I've had to stop thinking I have to run, I have to overcome, and to go, it's okay. It's okay. I have to work on it all the time because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's like that safety. It's like, we're here. We're good. This is enough right now. One of my friends has a question that I don't know that I'll ever ask myself, but she's like, when is enough enough? Like, what does enough look like? And I'm like, I'm not going to answer that question for myself. But like, I love that she wants to answer that question. Like, is this enough? And like, she's in her 50s and she's lived and she's done it and she's abundant. And I feel like a spring chicken sometimes sitting next to her being like, I want to go and do all the things. But it really, I think we have to be careful, those that have had trauma and those that are used to doing and showing up and performing, because I know my body will just, and now I'm 41, so perimenopause. Oh, friend, do you want to talk about
it's a game changer. It's a game changer. I don't have the capacity for risk and uncertainty and multiple decisions that I did pre-perimenopause. And I think that's good though. It's when I had kids and I had to change boundaries. It's just a new phase of going, okay, new boundaries, new things. So I don't think there's a problem of always wanting more. I think it's that thing of going, I'm content now, and why not? Because it would be fun, or why not? Because I have a desire for something. It's a tricky balance, and I haven't figured that out yet myself either. And what's cool though is that we've got time. Like, imagine how many more books we're going to create. And so instead of making them open tabs, it's just like, that will be exciting. Yeah. I'll have more there's more to come. Yeah. And I don't have to write all of the books of my career right now. And that's what it feels like on a Sunday, right? When you're sitting there and you go, I should be writing all of those books that are to come. We don't even know what those books are yet. And we have to be in that place to be able to write them. And I see even books that I wrote in my 20s and I kind of cringe and I think, but I needed to write it at that time and I can't go and change it now because it would ruin it. That, and so it's like you can only do what you can do with where you're at and what you have
And that's you in that moment. Tricky. I like it. It's like my first book, I'm like, oh God, why didn't anybody tell me to chill out and, give me, I didn't have an editor. It was just like, Erika Untapped. And I'm like, oh, cringe. But then I'm like, but that part of you is like frozen in time and paper. And like how beautiful that you can see that person and go, oh, I know what was going on for her. I know what was driving her or whatever it is. Or my old webinars that I'm like, oh my God.
And someone needs to hear it from that version of you, not the version you are now. 100%. And that's why it's important to preserve those things and to not be self-conscious about them, because I love that. Yeah. That earlier bit delusional. Yeah. And it's like, I know too much now. Yeah. But she serves a purpose for some people.
It's good. Yeah. It's a beautiful initiation now into the next phase, right? Okay, so we're going to wrap with this. If somebody's listening, like, I have money stories that I need to heal and I need to feel safe earning more money. Where's an area like that they could start first with unpacking this, understanding this, and wanting to learn more from you about this?
Yes. So I would go and get my book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch. So it's in Audible, Kindle, all the places, all bookshops should have it. It's a really great way to, to start to unpack all of that. And I'm on Instagram too at Denise DT. And so come and just get into my world and just follow along. I like to make it very light and curious. We're not going into trauma. We're not, going deep and dark and scary. We're coming at it from a place of compassion and curiosity and fun. It's funny and fun to start looking at our stuff, because then you can go, well, no wonder I feel that way. Like anyone would feel that way. And especially when you see other people in, like, for example, my boot camp community, you have compassion for them and go, of course that would be hard for you. And then you can have compassion for yourself. So yeah, that's a great place to start. And I wish we could talk longer, but I've got another call starting right now. But what a beautiful conversation, Erika. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Denise, have a beautiful day, my love.
You too. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I freaking love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your ears and your energy and your attention. Thank you for letting me into your world. And thank you so much for listening and tuning in to this podcast. There are so many podcasts you can listen to, and I deeply, deeply, for real, appreciate you listening to mine. Do me one big favor, one big thing. Please share this episode or this podcast with a woman who needs to hear this. This is my mission on planet Earth, to serve as many women as possible so that we could show up, stand up, speak up, and create the confidence and the life that we desire. I appreciate you, my love. I will see you on the next episode.